Hello, it's Wednesday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Nima Akasha Zabiri. How are you doing?
This morning, I want to vex to Nigerians, Lagosians particularly. I don't know why we would find it empowering to remove public properties.
Yes.
So these covers, what do they call those things?
Like drainage covers.
And drainage covers.
Yes. Same thing in my area.
One person had projects, remove this one, all on this to join the express from CMG.
Yes.
On second rainbow, they started 1 week, one per week. They have successfully removed everything. All, the first exit, the first ramp to the first lane. The second side before Sonia, they've removed now. They started removing one now. By next week, another one. And it's almost like there's no security checking. They've not caught one thief. All the agberos that are there did not catch thief. Because the police is sleeping.
They don't need security cameras.
Somebody is removing that thing.
Yes. I've been seeing recently that these boys come with the carts. Yes. They come with the wheelbarrow carts and then they...
I can't believe it.
We need like all those security cameras.
We had an accident on second rainbow just because of that. Although that was a one-way car, but a taxi was trying to avoid that car, fell in that, and the bus hit the guy. I saw them removing the body on the weekend that was going out, removing the driver of the taxi because of that. And you make that something that you used to call empowerment. So they say, I'm hustling.
It's the same group of people that were taking out rails now from the railway.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Those things.
No.
If
police is unavailable to catch them, another Nigerian can even make a video, get their face, or even catch them yourself.
We need to be willing
to do that. You have the power to arrest somebody at the scene of a crime as a citizen.
How are you doing,
you don't have to wait
I'm
until
doing fine, but if you're afraid, you can just take a video so that we have the person's face.
They don't beat you up.
Thank you so much. We're all like in
black
today.
Black today. And color, yeah.
And color.
Yes, no, black. I have color with you. So we're all in sync.
Yeah, so I couldn't come yesterday. This primary 6 is not an easy thing.
Yeah, so that's like the last year before you get to secondary school.
So we're sitting there, we had a meeting with the principal and parents, and everybody was just telling, you know, what they were afraid of, like what the plans were for the children. The principal made a very important observation where she was saying, thank you for allowing your children stay in primary 6. That 1 year allows them some time to grow and mature. You know, we take for granted, yes, it's good to be good with the subjects, but also we need to allow our children grow. This is not to make those who have sent their children to secondary school to feel bad, but it is important that we understand that schoolwork, academics has to go hand in hand with our children. Our children's maturity is important, really, that we put that as in the forefront, because I've seen many too young children in secondary school trying to struggle to...
You're very correct.
And it's also as a result of lack of information. So some of these parents are not really aware. So in their minds, because of the way the system is, when you don't graduate on time, you don't get the jobs. The jobs will cap at a certain age. So everybody just, and plus the strikes.
Isn't it the lesson teachers?
Everybody will just...
Your son can pass this exam. Don't worry, I've trained him. Don't worry.
So it's the Nigerian factor.
I don't listen to them. She will do primary 6.
Yeah, I always insist. My daughter even had to do primary 6 2 times because I wanted a level of maturity before moving on to, and she's amazing right now. I'm really happy about it. I'm just wondering how I'm going to cope with all the stress. I'm going to be doing bus runs.
What does that
School
mean?
run.
School run.
Okay.
I haven't done it in a while. So the buses couldn't come in just because of this thing you were talking about, taking off the cover. So they came for site check and realized that our streets, they've taken out all the covers, and the school bus said we can't pass that street, so you have to take your children and bring them to school every day. And now it's like 1 hour trip because of traffic in the afternoon. So all my afternoon is gone. I was trying to convince my husband that they help and the driver can actually, he said, no, I'm not going to leave my children. We go there. And I'm like, whoa. So this is what you people were going through. Like, I don't know how to, I need to take a break and just plan.
We need to see husbands.
He does.
No compromise.
No, he does.
No, they do.
He does. He does.
That's not the conversation in my house. The conversation is always you.
No, he does.
Actually, he planned but your husband's work time would not allow for him to do those schools.
So he planned to take in the mornings, and he did a few days. But he realized coming back is going to be hard. And he got to the office 10 a.m. I was like, I can't do this.
You know, I was also at a school meeting with school parents and everything. And the PTA, we call them friends of the school. Yeah, the chairman was telling proudly, confidently that I'm a 3-star general. I have 3 children in school. I thought she's been experiencing, Auntie, calm down. I'm a 4-star general.
You know, be their mate.
I know be your mate. I'm praying out loud. Auntie, calm down. Don't worry. I got 4 kids in that school. Easy.
That's right.
I'm saying, let's go to a break. Very calm back. We're going to go to the front pages of the paper. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're going to start with the nation. Battle for VAT collection shifts to Supreme Court. Insecurity, Buhari pushes for arms, explosives, mop-up. States get nod for more borrowing. Release of 53,000 metric tons of water from Osun Dam threaten Lagos, Ogun, and others. Agitators take case to UN headquarters. President seeks approval for $40 billion, euro 710 million euros to fund budget. And Southern governors meet in Enugu tomorrow. Undo arrest 180 cows. Why is Undo arresting cows?
I like the way you see it. I like the way these newspapers just do it. They arrested 4 headers and 180 cows, but they removed the headers and put the cows were just prattling about. Anyway, they arrested the 4 headers because they said they violated the anti-open grazing laws. That's in Ondo State, in the Iju community. Right. So their cows had gone into farmlands, of course, and destroyed the farmlands. 2 of the headers, although, were saying, see, we've lived in this community peacefully for many years. We're ready to pay whatever fines that we need to pay, and we'll do better next time. The government of Ondo State is saying that what they would usually do is they'll give them a first warning, and then the second time, there's a 100,000 naira fine or 3 years imprisonment. But that what they're trying to do is build on educating them. Yes. And in collaboration with Mieti Allah, to ask them to keep educating the headsmen on what they need to know about these laws going forward. Because after you've violated it the first time, the second time you must go to court and face the full weight of the law.
I do love the fact that they could have a civilized conversation. Willing to pay.
In a related story, Governor of Enugu State has also joined other states. They've signed off that law too. So across many of the southern states, it's now going to be illegal to have open grazing.
I think
so major headline, yes.
VAT is not taking anything lying down.
Governor of Rivers State.
Appeal court is staying in execution of what? The Supreme Court help us to decide, vacate the order. He has appealed. Yes, to the Supreme Court that vacate the status quo order. I want...
Because he's insisting that this VAT is not an exclusive, neither is it concurrent, so therefore
Wike is becoming the darling of everybody.
Yes.
This is one governor that I can see.
Governor Action Wike.
But this one, you know what I love about it?
I think it's an interesting...
Some people think that it was too hasty a decision for him, that it's not well calculated, but the truth is, we've tested it in court. There will be precedents to rely on. Somebody can study the way Lagos State like to do. Study one situation and come through another method.
Yes, now so take advantage of the loophole.
And I think is this their meetings they have. This they sit down and
they are growing
together. This is their Southern Governors meeting. They share ideas.
That's why it's good to put people that have it. They go to school. They have sense.
They understand the conversation. We need more of that anyway. So the president is asking the Senate to pass 2 bills seeking to control small arms, light weapons, and explosives. They've sent the bill, a letter, transmission of the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons Bill 2021 to the National Assembly for consideration. This is going to aid the fight against insecurity. The Defense Minister, Bashir Magashi, also reminded the House of Representatives Committee on Defense that they had an agreement with Russia that their army was going to train and supply Nigerian armed forces. So they are still going to follow up on that to see how that can help us.
Okay, moving on now to the Punch. Experts others carpet National Assembly as Buhari plans $4 billion and 710 million euro borrowings. Indigenous nationalities protest at United Nations once against Nigeria's disintegration. Caleb varsity student disappears after cult threats. Father, Commissioner of Police tried to tackle school. 60 landlords desert houses as flood overwhelms Ogun community. Fayose may join PDP national chairmanship race. Sit at home hurting Southeast Omahi Obi laments violence in Anambra and Enugu. Kogi prison break. GGC threatens fleeing inmates with persecution. Minister advocates capital punishment, says gold smugglers using private jets. Rising unemployment can wipe out Nigeria elite. It's quite unsafe, says on Ngigi. Okay, which story are we taking?
I have the human interest story there. So a financial consultant, Mr. Oni Olajide, is lamenting the disappearance of his son, Oluwani Femi, on the premises of Caleb University and in the Imota area of Lagos State. So he's a 21-year-old undergraduate of computer science, and he had already sent a message to his sister that some cultists wanted him dead, but he told his sister not to disclose to his father. Then after he finished his exams, August 13, he sent a message to his father that he needed transport fare to go visit his mother in Ibadan. And then the father sent him 5,000 naira. He actually holds his father's ATM. And so the father did not see any credit alert. After a few days, spoke to the mother and they said, we haven't seen my son. And they kept looking for him. So they went back to school. They found someone who held on to one of his boxes. And then they had asked the school to present the security men who were available at the time of his disappearance. The school is not forthcoming in giving information. They claim that they had CCTV cameras. They were not able to release that. They refused to release that. The police also is not even, following up to see this man get justice. So he's saying that he sent his son to that private university because he wanted to avoid cultism. And right now, this is happening. He has even appealed to the school to paste the picture of his son. This has happened over a month ago now, and so I think something needs to be done.
Sad. I mean, the school is actually a very credible school, so we'll wait for them to respond because I'm sure they are working and they're on top of this. And I'm not speaking for them, I'm not holding it for them, but it's a well-known school, so I'm expecting that they'll take responsibility and do something as soon as possible.
So Dr. Uche Oga, the Minister for Mines and Steel Development, made some very serious allegations about those stealing gold from Zamfara, saying that they use private jets to pick gold and steal gold from that state. This is a state that has a no-flying zone, and this is an authority of government saying that this is what is happening. If it is still happening today, it means that government is complicit. If you have a no-flying zone within an area, what you do is shoot down whatever is flying, mosquito, fly, or plane. And then those who have private jets in this country cannot be up to the 200 million Nigerians that you say you don't have data of. Their data are available to whoever is in charge of aviation. If your plane is seen, landing, rented, it's a traceable offense.
Exactly.
So the willingness to do
is the political will. Because obviously this is traceable. They are getting fueled. That plane is getting maintained. You can track it. You can track it.
They parked the plane somewhere. The plane did not fly, disappear. The plane is parked somewhere in Nigeria.
Which plane?
Can I speak one more story in Punch?
The picture story.
No, Yoruba Nation.
Well, they are called Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities.
Because they've got a number of years by Biafra.
So we have, these are people calling for, we say they are secessionists. So we have those representing Middle Belt. We have those representing Yoruba Nation and others. So what they're saying is that they're protesting, and it would be from now to the 24th of September. And they've taken their protest to the United Nations headquarters. This is their issue. They said, one, the Union of Nigeria has failed irredeemably and is on the verge of violent disintegration with catastrophic consequences. So they're asking the United Nations to come to our aid quickly. And they're claiming that we have these headsmen who are actually militia being used for ethnic cleansing campaign. That's what they are alleging. And they say they are backed. They are also alleging that this group of people are backed by the president, who is a Fulani man and also the grand patron of Miyetti Allah. Then they said that when they had announced that they were going to do this protest and their 1 million march, Miyetti Allah boastfully responded to them and said, even that UN, we have the control of it. After all, our daughter, a Fulani, is Amina Mohammed, the Deputy Secretary General of the UN. So they're saying, obviously, things have disintegrated. I understand the sentiment of just, wanting to get a voice and all the things that are happening in our country. But our daughter is in the UN, we have power there. That sounds like baby talk to me. Like, really, who owns the UN? No one does that.
So, I mean, it's a week-long event, so it's just starting. So we're likely to see the numbers increase as the weeks, as the days go by. But it's important to know that
and hear what the UN will do.
Yes, we'll see. They're coming together, and
we'll be careful whatever narrative we are pushing in the international community. We're a sovereign nation. We have issues here, like just as we are doing fiscally now. Go to court, establish them credibly. But push one narrative and then popularize it, and then everybody's singing it off, whereas there's no basis for it. We should be careful.
Okay, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with the review. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. Moving on to Daily Sun. So we observed that the Sun Awards will be going to quite a number of eminent personalities. Only one woman. I have to say that. Just one. So because of that, I'm not going to mention it. Just one. 6. No, it's Betty Akeredolu. That's the first lady of Ondo State. Yeah, I'm happy. But the fact that they put only men here is, I'm not going to mention the name of their awards.
Who put?
6 Nigerians, others global terrorism sponsors. Fury over federal government's plan for fresh loan. And Ugwuanyi signed anti-grazing law. Okay, let's start with the terrorism sponsors.
Yes, so
please.
United Arab Emirates, they did their full investigation, and they have named 6 Nigerians out of 35 other nationals as those who are allegedly financing terrorism. They gave their names, so...
Please,
and we have...
Slowly.
Abdul Rahman Ado Musa,
okay.
Bashir Ali Yusuf, Salihu Yusuf Adamu, Muhammadu Ibrahim Isa, Ibrahim Ali Al-Hassan, Siraju Abubakar Muhammad. Now, one thing with these names is that you're from the north. So if you go into somewhere and just call this name, 100 people can show up their names. But we're hoping that for those who are involved, they would have even more information than just the names that they've been put aside. So Nine Mobile also had to send a rejoinder quickly, because one of the names on it, I think it's Abdul. I can't remember the name right now. They said it's the same name as one of their
directors.
Yeah, directors, and they're separating the person of their director from that name. They say he's an outstanding citizen of Nigeria, has nothing to do with this list.
Well,
I say somebody is Mr. Babatunde.
Exactly. Anybody can do that.
Naming names, but we have 400 Boko Haram suspected bandits we are prosecuting. Every time it's always 400. There are no names, no prosecution in the past how many years.
Just
now
numbers.
people are flying and
Let's take one more story from
Yes, so the Senate President Ahmed Lawan at plenary read the president's letter dated August 24th, where he explained that the projects listed in the 2018-2021 federal government borrowing plan will be financed through the sovereign loans from World Bank, the French Development Agency, the China Exim Bank, International Funds for Agricultural Development, and others. And it's a sum of about $4 billion. Also, there's also Euro, which is going for $710,000, and grant component on $125,000. Now, the federal government is saying that it's going to use these funds to finance projects across the 6 geopolitical zones to bring about employment, poverty reduction, and protection of vulnerable persons. However, the main opposition party, PDP, Afenifere, the Middle Belt Forum, Ohaneze Ndigbo, are condemning this request, saying that it will further mortgage the country, that we may not have a country after the APC's administration, and that the National Assembly should reject the loan request because the ones they collected before, no infrastructure has been shown to prove that, they used the money for what they collected it for. But the president is saying that this is not like a fresh loan, no. It's an addendum to the one that we collected before. Because they should pity the future generations, because there's no plan on how we pay back this loan.
The one we are paying, the one we are using it. Let them do a breakdown of where we are generating what we are using to pay service what. Let us just know, so that we know how we chop the basic. Major headline.
Daily Trust.
Yes.
Daily Trust?
Daily Trust, yes. This one.
Oh, I'm not saying Daily Trust.
You read
Vicious ISOP leader Al-Banawi killed. Private jets used for gold smuggling. Outrage over missing 345 million naira in Kano Sharia court. Kaba prison break, 114 escapees recaptured. Oh, really? Federal government borrowing spree continues as Buhari seeks fresh 2.2 trillion naira loan. PDP to National Assembly. Delay in electoral amendment threatens 2023. And bandits abduct Zamfara Emir in Kaduna Abuja Highway. Okay, major headline.
So the young man leading ISWAP in Nigeria, Abu Musab al-Banawi, has been killed according to reports from Daily Trust. In the same report, some unconfirmed reports said he was killed by our military. Others said it was a leadership also within Boko Haram. This man took over after Shekau's multiple deaths, who took over from his father, Mohammed Yusuf. And so they've been back and forth on.
So his father is the founder of Boko Haram.
Mohammed Yusuf, who was killed in 2009 by our security agents.
Please, Sharia court.
Yes.
What happened?
So they said 304 million allegedly gone missing from the accounts of the Kano State Sharia court. Now, this money belongs to heirs and heiresses that has been kept in custody of the court till before distribution after their cases are resolved. So, you know, when you have family issues and we're at who is the rightful heir, they just, okay, save this money for us when we need it. Now, they discovered that this money was missing when the court needed about 9 million, I think, 9 million, and found that money had depleted. Who take money now? They no see. They now started investigations, set up a committee to investigate, and realized that about 7 computers in the office too missed at the same time, just to find a way to cover up what has happened. They said this sort of thing happened in 2013, which led to the sacking of a judge. So I hope, because this is just like inheritance has been inherited by some people.
I'm telling you. And it's just sad. So there's something called Quranic heirs. Nobody outside the direct lineage inherits. And they come and put the money in your trust. This is supposed to be in trust. Religious Nigerians, we are so religious.
Well, things have changed. So back then, when the Quran was printed, people were entrusted. They expected that this sheikh or this leaders can actually hold it. But today, the economy of our country has made it such that
I'm telling you
that things have changed. So maybe our laws should begin to change to reflect the realities of the time, because I cannot trust a judge anymore to hold my inheritance.
This is for the judge a sin against man and God. So he will be punished and punished again, or whoever is in charge of that.
There's a more story.
Yeah, so in Kogi State, Kaba prison break. So on Sunday, some gunmen attacked the Nigerian Correctional Service in Security Custodial Center. You know, they call them those names now in Kaba, in Kogi State. They said about 200 inmates were freed. A soldier was killed and also a police officer. At the time of the invasion, they had 294 inmates in custody. 224 of them were pre-trial detainees and 70 of them were convicted inmates. They said, thankfully, you know, a few of them have been recaptured, and they are on the trail of all the other ones. And the governor has asked that investigation should be carried out on who may have been the mastermind and the planners behind this.
Did you say a few? I thought it was 114.
114.
That's a lot of
that's okay. That's a lot.
Okay, moving on to Vanguard. Foreign loans, I think we talked about that, to hit $45 billion as FG bids to borrow $4 billion more. IPOP sit-at-home triggers outrage and condemnation. No plans to unseat Sanwo-Olu. He's doing well, says Gbajabiamila Miller. Senate demands quick implementation of PIA. Rivers drags FG to Supreme Court over the VAT issue. ICPC interrogates budget DG, others over the 11 billion NPTF contract. About gridlock, how law enforcement agencies extort truckers. I think we talked about it 1 trillion times. And let's see, FG to unveil 15 trillion infrastructure company in October, says CBN. Southern governors meet in Enugu tomorrow. Insist decision on open grazing stays. Okay.
So what's happening within Lagos politics? Well, the Speaker of the House of Assembly responded to those who were asking him if he had interest in vying for the seat of the governor in the next elections in 2023. That, no? This question, he says, it provokes a smile. I'm in an office and I'm very busy and I'm doing well. And the governor of Lagos State, even though we've had a one-term governor before him, is doing a good job. I have no plans for his seat. Don't make on a go rest.
Simple.
Whatever this is.
Okay.
Did I go ahead?
Go ahead,
okay. Yes. So IPOB yesterday apologized to the Biafra, the Igbo people, saying that they are sorry about what has happened, that the plan was not to destroy themselves. The plan they had initially was to carry out a cause. But unfortunately, criminals and hoodlums took advantage of that situation, and they are now causing mayhem. They apologized about the schools that they didn't allow to write their examinations, and they are promising that they are going to repair or buy back all the bikes that were burnt. They are going to build some of the classrooms that were destroyed, and that the sit-at-home has been rescinded. Right now, there is no sit-at-home. They only sit at home when maybe Nnamdi Kanu is about to be presented in court. But that every Monday, stopping people. I think so, and I am happy with what is happening, because I was beginning to ask myself, who are the leaders? What sort of mental, do they have that they will allow people who are taking advantage to come and cause something else for them? But I'm happy that this is happening. So all the states in the southeast will now go back to their normal duties. Their leader has said now no more sit-at-home except the days is coming.
Let us going to court. I think I really feel like they were
I'm happy.
I'm really happy. Because this was a difficult conversation across shows, but we had the conversation and we've seen results. So.
Okay, any other stories?
Yes, ICPC has invited the DG Budget Office.
Oops, we're out of time.
Okay, so they're investigating the alleged procurement of substandard equipment for police by the Nigerian Police Trust Fund. So the accusation is that bulletproof vests that were bought, only the front had a protective shield, the helmets were too small, some of the vehicles that were purchased with 11 billion naira intervention funds were discovered allegedly to have been old vehicles that have been refurbished, that most of the vehicles may have come from Sudan or Libya. That in fact, while they were transporting the vehicles, one of them just blew up in flames. They said medical equipment substandard, like some IV fluids. We know IV fluids come in plastic tubes or bottles, but these ones came in regular sachets. Then, just so many things. So they are calling all the people, board members for this meeting. And then they said there was another thing where the president had approved an office for the MPTF, well furnished, but they are insisting that they want to rent their own special place for 600 million naira per annum. So it looks like a lot of things is going on there, and ICPC is investigating it.
Okay, that's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we return, we have guest appearance from the Nigeria Solidarity Support Fund. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. So, Global Citizen working with the Lagos State government to create a limited capacity event to celebrate Nigerians working on the front line in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, and to help ensure that 1 million people are vaccinated as soon as possible. Joining us on the show now is Dr. Fejiro Chinye Uwokwo, the General Manager of NSSF. Good morning, are you there? Dr. Fejiro. Good morning. Oh, goodness, I cannot hear you. It's so hard to hear you. Can you hear me now? I can see your face, but the volume is pretty low.
And I can hear you clearly.
And she can hear us.
Okay, so tell us about your organization's drive to, in fact, let's start with the impact of COVID-19 in Nigeria. How far have we gone concerning vaccination, and what do you hope to achieve going forward concerning vaccination?
Thank you so much. I hope you can.
Yes, we can. It's clearer now.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Okay, so COVID-19, it's now home with us. It's no longer a new pandemic anymore. It's over a year old. That it has come to sort of revolutionize the world, and we're not the only ones going through and working through it. It has changed the way we see life. It has changed the way we live life. Before COVID, now the common term is to have before COVID and to have after COVID, because things have drastically changed. But one thing that we have seen over the months battling this pandemic is that we are more resilient, we are changing, we are innovative, we are very accessible to change, we are very volatile to change. We are able to change the way we socialize, the way we work, the way we dress now, having all the face masks and all on. So we, as human beings, it has tested our ability to adapt, and we are adaptable. And so with the COVID pandemic has come also the sensationalizing everyone to know that we are one people, and we are no longer living in silos. And it has brought unity, especially unity with like minds, to come together to solve the problem. And NSSF is one of those people that have come in the platform alongside other organizations to say, what can we do? How can we help others? How can we alleviate the impact of COVID in Nigeria?
Right.
And so that's why we're here today.
Okay.
Okay, so what is the NSSF doing to help Nigerians cushion the effects of COVID-19 pandemic?
Okay, so NSSF is a non-for-profit organization. It's an initiative of the Global Citizen, which is an international non-for-profit, and Nigerian Sovereign Investment Agency, NSI. NSSF was really bettered to achieve three main objectives, and the first is to care for the vulnerable population. The second is to strengthen the health systems, and lastly is to reskill the Nigerian youths. What are we doing in terms of COVID? All these three objectives are to help strengthen help alleviate the impact of COVID-19 on Nigerians. And our first focus for this year and next is actually to help vaccinate Nigerians. Our singular message this year is that we want to get more Nigerians vaccinated against this coronavirus. And what we're doing is a two-pronged approach. The first is to partner with other organizations to increase vaccine supply in Nigeria. We know the debate about vaccine equity around the world, and we know that based on resources, we're not able to get as many doses as we would like for the population of Nigeria. So we're working and partnering with organizations to get in more vaccines. And secondly, what we want to do is to push these vaccines, knowing fully well that there's one thing to solve the supply side, but there is the demand side. So we want to increase demand for vaccinations. We want to reduce the vaccine hesitancy that we see in Nigeria and make sure that more people are vaccinated, not for the sake of vaccination, but they are vaccinated so that they can be protected against the virus and they can protect others from this deadly virus.
You mentioned Global Citizen Life. So who are the supporters of Global Citizen Life?
Okay, what I mentioned was Global Citizen. Global Citizen Life is an activity that is going to happen this month, September 25th. Global Citizen, it's an international organization. They are the ones that are coming up with Global Citizen Life, and the idea is to get the world, really, it's a 24 hours live event to get the world, to rally the world together to alleviate the burdens of COVID-19. And their first objective is actually climate change, and the second objective is to reduce the vaccine equity issues around the third world nations and developing countries. And lastly is for gender-based violence. Right. And so they've come up with this 20 hours event to create awareness, to rally around donors together to put their hands on the plow and support this cause of ending the pandemic and being resilient after the pandemic.
Yes, Nima.
So I wanted, when you were talking about getting people vaccinated, I wanted to understand what incentives. I believe that incentives are better at getting people to do it than these punitive measures promoted by some states. And now most people are afraid. If you probably had incentives, what methods do you want to use? And what incentives, if you had incentive as one of your methods, would you propose?
Okay, so when you talk about incentives, what are the benefits for someone to get vaccinated? We understand that it's not only Nigeria that's going through this vaccine hesitancy problem. It's everywhere in the world. People that are really skeptical about taking the vaccines. But one way NSSF is trying to increase vaccine uptake and reduce this vaccine hesitancy is education. So educating people to see that the vaccines actually protect you against the virus. The most important benefit of taking the vaccine is that you are protected against the virus and against the deadly outcomes of the virus. And it's not just you, you're also protecting those around you that are not vaccinated. So those that are vulnerable but are not yet vaccinated, you being vaccinated, I being vaccinated, we also prefer that protection against those group of people that are vaccinated. And secondly, the way we want to do it is to go into the communities. There's one thing to educate people from the urban areas, sitting in the television and not understanding, where they're coming from. So that when we go to the communities, we understand their mindsets. Behavioral change takes time, and social change takes time. So we have to be patient. We have to see the issue from their lens, and with time gain confidence. So we'll be going into the communities, especially communities of vulnerable Nigerians, to campaign for vaccinations.
Dr. Fejiri, let me be sure that I understand. So the Solidarity Support Fund, you're going to work with donors to get the vaccines into Nigeria. So are you also going to help to distribute, or are you just going to educate people? Because when people hear fund, their ears are thinking, they want to collect money on our behalf. So what you're doing, let me be sure I'm clear, is that you're getting the funds from these donors. Are you going to be handing those vaccines over to the government to distribute, or you plan to distribute yourself, or to actually administer the vaccinations yourself?
Okay, the primary goal of NSSF is not to create parallel structures. I think that's another thing that we are learning with COVID is that we can partner together, we can collaborate, and we can gain more grants collaborating. So we will partner with organizations to get in these vaccines, but we'll also partner with the government, seeing that the federal government is at the forefront of receiving vaccines and distributing vaccines. We're going to be partnering with the government and the agencies that are responsible for distributing these vaccines to make sure that these vaccines get to the people that need the vaccines, especially the people that need it the most, which is the vulnerable population. So we will work with them. We're not going to, do it on our own. We're not also going to, just educate people. We're not just doing that. We're also going to support the government to distribute these vaccines to this community. All
right, we have to run up with, but what's your target numbers? What numbers are you looking to vaccinate in the next coming months?
Okay, as an initial target, we're aiming to vaccinate 1 million people, 1 million Nigerians, but we know that is an initial target. And once we hit this target, we definitely will go to vaccinate more people, because we are aiming to vaccinate 80 to 90% of the population in Nigeria to give us that herd immunity where we can protect the other 10% and 20%. So 1 million is yet a drop, the first drop in the ocean.
All right. Any final words? We have to wrap. Any final words, Dr. Fejiri?
Okay, so for NSSF, we see the magnitude of the gap, and we don't want to sit on the sidelines and complain about the issue and just talk about the challenges and analyze the challenges. We want to do something. And to every Nigerian that has something to give, be it a corporate organization, be it an individual that wants to help Nigeria, we are Nigerians for Nigerians. We're not waiting for our help to come from somewhere. We want to help Nigerians as Nigerians. I would advise that you go into our website, learn more about NSSF, see our framework of governance, see our framework of accountability, and know that we are trusted organizations, and partner with us to effect the social change that we're looking to.
Thank you very much. We've been speaking with Dr. Fejiri Chin-Ye-Nwoko, the General Manager, NSSF. Thank you very much, Madam, for joining us. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, we move on to our hot topic of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So, the former spokesman to the former president of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, Reno Omokri, is of the opinion that many people are religious and churchy because of poverty. I mean, in his recent post, he said, when these same people relocate to the abroad, they say that their prayers are easily answered and their requests are met in these locations. They lose their religiosity. Now, it's worth discussing because many Nigerians are relocating and have relocated. And they observe that when they're in Nigeria, they go to church very religiously. But once they get abroad, for some whatever reason, they take their time in finding a church. In fact, I remember that when I moved to the US, I mean, our vigil ends at midnight. You dare not carry vigil after midnight because we gotta go to work. You know, here you do vigil to 2 a.m. and you still kind of get, you know. So it kind of just reduces. So we're discussing, is it society, or do we agree with Reno that it's poverty that is causing all of us to go and sleep and do everything and just die in church? I say, you know, we die here. Father, answer my prayer. I'm not leaving until my prayer is answered. What are your thoughts on this? You can call us on 08127053687. 09139076948. You can also send us messages on YouTube and on Facebook. We'll be happy to read your messages. Who'd like to go first?
So I would agree with him a bit and disagree with him at the same time because I know that Nigerians are not the only ones that are religious. So I did a little research this morning and I found that the United States has the largest Christian population in the world, followed by Brazil, Mexico, and Russia. We never even come close. That's one. Then projections have the United States remaining the nation with the greatest number of Christians and increasing in raw numbers from 248 to 260 million in 2060, though they projected that there will be a drop after a few years.
Did they count off?
No, they did in the world. However, the problem that we have as Nigerians.
Religiosity.
Yes, no, we don't separate it here. Okay. It's we now that are beginning to be awakened that know the difference. We don't separate it here. So when I'm talking religion, I'm talking about people who go to either the churches or the mosques. So that's our religion right now. So I wanted to say that the problem we have is how we do what we do. It's not about the religion itself. So we have taken the label, the religion, and we have forgotten the content. And that is why you do not see that reflection in every other thing. So you see a lot of people going to church, praying for their enemies and all that. And from the pulpit, as they leave and they get home, they start fighting their neighbors. They are stealing. They are the ones corrupt. The same set of people are the ones in the clubs on Friday night to Saturday. The same set of people are the ones in their offices looting. The same set of people. So it's how we do what we do. We bring the Nigerian factor into what we do. It's not about the religion, so to speak, because we have other people outside the world who still go to churches, but they live differently. We see the fruits of the Spirit compared to what we do.
That's not our conversation. The conversation is that in Nigeria, you do the basic. Okay, so maybe you're not the same person, but you do your religious activities. When you now go abroad, it just changes.
Because we're naturally not religious people, so we just hang on to that because that's the only way we see hope somehow to go through what we're going through.
Thank you, Mariam.
I agree with him completely. Because I understand how... See, I remember there's this small red car my mom used to have. When she started it, before she started the morning, she would pray to Jesus. Jesus, please, this car has to start. But when she comes back, she'll be like, do you know I was driving and they started making this sound. And then I prayed to God and that. But when she changed that car, I do not remember her praying for the car in the morning. Or, you know, you wake up in the morning and you know you need to go to work. You need to press your clothes. And there's no electricity. You're praying to Jesus, please, God, touch NEPA. Let there be light, you know. So those sort of things, daily, you now remember. Then the higher power you go to, because you can't go to any organ, you cannot report to any manager. There's nobody to send a complaint to. You have to go to the higher power that you just kneel. They say once you just kneel down and pray to him,
everything
he will answer everything miraculously.
No, pause for a second. You know, what you just said, so if you're in an office and maybe you have this boss that's always on your case. You know how we pray and fast? Father, this is my boss. Replace him. Send him to give him a message. It's because there's no proper process. if you're in a company where there's proper procedure, when you are promoted where you're supposed to be promoted, where a place you can actually send your complaints to HR is functional.
You trust the system.
You know, you trust the system. You wouldn't have to be praying against this boss because you know that at some point he's going to. So that's probably
how we do what we do. And I believe, and because of that, that's why they would say maybe some people believe more in science because it's logical. They can see the beginning and the end. That's one. And another thing I've seen with people where they live, where you know there's affluence, better societies, that they have another religion of love and kindness. So it's no more about Christianity or Islam. Everything works, so now they understand that what is more important is how I relate to you, humanity, humane, you know, that you are. And that's why I agree with him. Yeah.
I think Reno touched something soft because I have these reflections on the 5 before 5. So there's an hadith of the prophets that take your 5 before 5, take care of your youth before your old age, your health before illnesses, your free time before you're busy. And I have gotten to that busy. Every day I'm trying to reflect on that every time and all of that. And when he said this thing, I'm wondering, in the very religious countries that there's extreme abundance, there's this tendency to forget the creator, the source. So you see in Saudi, for instance, there's a high level of human rights abuses for people they are supposedly lower than them. The final message of the Prophet ﷺ ended slavery, even before slavery ended in the Western world. It ended discrimination against race, across race, ended racism. But the Saudians, the people who are the custodians of the Kaaba, are the ones looking at it. And when they see a black man, something that the Prophet ﷺ that brought the message cancelled, are the ones who cannot remember to be God-fearing and be kind to that black man except he's visiting on the Hajj. If he's working there or is a staff within, they cannot. So I think it's that loss, disconnect with the creator. You're constantly supposed to, even when everything is working, when you flick, light is working, you flick, to be remembering the source so that you don't get carried away and think all of that is for granted. It's because, you know, that's where you miss the line of science. I have seen science and I have seen God. Yes. This Imran, doctors were going to just abort the baby. That was science. The logical thing was abort the baby. So they took a risk of maximum of 28 days. He will be naturally aborted. Let's just fix the sacrilege and watch it happen naturally. And so Madame went inside the ward. I was listening to the advice that you have to sit on the bed, lie down if this is going to work. But you know, these are the pluses and minuses. And I can afford the health. We paid. So it's not about money. The doctors are available. The expertise is there. But at that point, when everything has been done, you call God. So
but do you know that
when
if you live abroad, God, you might not get to that level because science has such advanced that you wouldn't even get to the point. Maybe there won't be a 28-day issue.
That's the reality.
I disagree too.
You know, I lost one. So whether science or not, there's God factor.
There is.
So at that point, I was like, so this is happening again. Okay, God, at this point, let's talk. What do you want that I have not done? And there's a tradition of Islam where you tell God, okay, I have done this for you. I have been a good person. I need you to do this for me. You can converse with good deeds that you have done sincerely for God. And I was thinking, at that point, I could not think of the ones I had done, but in the course of 2-3 days, I was remembering, hey, one woman that I helped, I totally just helped that woman because of God. And I was negotiating. And when I did my 34 weeks, in fact, the day I carried my baby, I sat there in front of the hospital. I did not remember I paid the doctors. I prostrated in front of the hospital because I told God, if I walk out with this baby, healthy and alive, I will worship you. So there's this line of us getting carried away because it's not us. So let's not forget that.
Fantastic. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. So we're still going back to, I know we've all said our initial thoughts. What Reno was saying is that many of us resort to religion because we are very poor. So some of these health issues, for example, somebody's child has malaria and they go carry the child to the altar and they're begging God to have mercy so the child doesn't die. Malaria could have been easily cured. If you live in a different country, maybe they have normal flu or something, and then that shouldn't be a problem. So we realize that most of our prayer points is about ancestral demons that are disturbing you, for not letting you to move forward, or not letting you to get a job. Village people that, you know. So if you look at it, if you sit down and write out your prayer points and review each prayer point, you know, so if I was living abroad, what would be my prayer points? That's what Reno is saying.
Yeah. And I also understand that aspect, but what I'm beginning to see is we are not really problem solvers. So everything we hang on religion because we have not been taught how to apply, how to think. So you have a problem in front of you, and instead of you to apply logic and reasoning, you resort to prayer because that's the easy way, as far as I'm concerned. But when you sit down and think through this, we've not mastered the art of critical thinking. That's what I just see. When we sit down and think through, you see that you come up with solutions. And you know, you have this problem and the solution is looking at you. But you are waiting for a God who will come down and manufacture it for you. So he has given you a tree and you need a table. And you're waiting for him to give you the table. We don't like to apply ourselves. So we transfer everything to God, save me. God, help me. God, kill my enemies. God, your enemies that you want to kill, it could have been your bad mouth that made them your enemy in the first place. A simple kindness would have turned them to your friends. You know, we don't apply. Also, we're not really content. Even if we have all the basic amenities, some of us will still be praying that we're always the head, or everybody wants to be the head. Have you ever seen an animal with just heads as body parts? It will be a monster. You can be the tail and be an excellent tail. Yes. You can be the hand and be an excellent hand. Why do we all have to be the head? The mentality of the Oyibo people is different. So I have rich Oyibo people. I went to, I've always said this, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They are very rich Americans who are in that church. But they are content. They have a simple home, a simple life, and they're okay. Be the best still. They are okay with what they have. They're not constantly competing with one another. Yeah. If we sort that out, we will not really blame religion. It's our mentalities, how we do things.
The preacher says, pastor says, God has a message for just one person.
Everybody.
That will get $1 million today.
And everybody, you don't have the job, oh. You collect the highest amen. And then you go back and start
cooking. Okay, I have to take this call. Good morning, are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please, Harriet.
Yes, please. My name is Mrs. Harriet. Hi,
the volume is a bit low. I can't hear you, but go ahead.
How are you, darling Miriam? How are you?
Oh, Auntie Harriet, I think.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sweetheart. How are you? Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, I just want to introduce the topic for today, which is why we are. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We're still religious.
I think it's on the studio.
When you travel abroad, you just find out that you more or less like struggle to say you want to pray. This is it, yeah? When you're in a system where things work, you understand me? There is life.
I can't hear.
Everything is working. And there is this atmosphere of peace. You don't have to struggle even when you are qualified. Do you understand? You get what you are qualified to get. So in that aspect, you find out that except the ones that have that really strong faith are the ones who still carry on with that aspect of religion. Not that they have forgotten their maker, but they begin to appreciate the fact that these people here, when you look back, they are really not into religion like us, but they make things work. Everybody does what they are meant to do. Not to trust anybody. Do you understand? So you find out that in our own system, we every day have to even ask for the things we are not even meant to ask God for. That's automatically there for us. Just because certain people are not allowing it to be. So that is the issue.
Thank you very much, Harriet.
So Nigerians also pray for good leadership. But where we won't pick up from, more important. You know, we pray for that every time. And you'd expect that we are who we are. The places we talk about, there are people naturally are looking out for themselves. They're thinking of a collective and the common good of the entire people. But in Nigeria, an average person wants to be king, and they will call it that my generation not go back. But you are the only one who walk the walk. You now have to permanently steal the money so that your generation will not go back if you do not send the right values. I grew up seeing Nigerians. I believe Nigerians that are excellent people are existing. It's just this loud, more population of people like that, you know, that are not willing to wait. We used to have dignity in selling one thing all our lives, and you will die, you will be known as the Yolole.
All right, let me take Marcus and I'll come to Miriam. Marcus, are you there? Hello, Marcus, are you there? Hello, Marcus, are you there? Okay, go ahead, Miriam.
Okay. Hello, there are things.
Yes, you're live. Go ahead, please.
Okay, there are things in this life you think requires supernatural to handle. There are things your logic, your analysis cannot even handle. There are things you do analysis, yes, you still find it wrong. You still require the supernatural to make it work. Although our system here is not working, due to the people on ground, it doesn't make it to work. That's why sometimes we go more closer to God. Because if things are meant to work, we should give God a break and use our logic, analysis, and whatever to make it work.
Yeah.
Because the system here is corrupt. That's why we're having this issue.
Yeah.
That's why we rely, go more to God, because since the system has failed, that's why we run to God. But if the system has not failed, we have to give God the God is directing, drinking, is doing whatever he wants to do. Well, that's because the system is not working. That's why we go more to God. Then there are things we require God to do when our logic and analysis.
Thank you, Marcus. So he's saying that's
system isn't working.
What it is.
Yeah.
We don't have hope. I mean, that's
someone said that.
So go ahead, Mariam.
Okay. So there's something also about being poor and just think that religion is about how it helps you. So I remember many years ago, we were watching this show, this Oprah show with my mom, where Oprah was giving people cars. So she said, everybody look under your seat and say, you get a car, you get a car. My mom and I were in the sitting room in Jos, screaming alongside everybody. And I was like, oh, Mommy, I wish I was there. I would have gotten a car for you. She says, no, I don't want you to do that. I want you to be able to do it for other people one day. I don't want you to be the one to receive it, you know. And then I remember growing, you know, just coming to Lagos. And I was saying this to Obiajulu that there's a prayer here in Lagos a lot. I'm praying for my helper. So this helper is not Jesus, it's not God, it's not Holy Spirit. It's another human being you're hoping God is arranging the helper for you. And I'm like, why are we praying for, why are we not praying to be helpers? Why is it always that we're looking for someone?
My helper must locate me.
Yes.
Somebody must always locate you.
Yes, but first be somebody's...
That they want to locate.
Yes.
You to let people be located.
Be the point where you are helping. Yes. Be the person that wants to help someone. If we are all helpers, do you understand? We will stop this poverty. But secondly, it makes me think, and you can agree or disagree, that then prayer is not, religion and prayer is not really about, you know, until we do our part. So what I'm trying to say, God has given it to us. So this poverty, our bad leadership, the corruption, we have prayed, we have congregated, we have spent many nights in churches, and it has not changed. So it's really on us. So I think for me, it's like God is saying, I've done my part. I've created you. I've given you a life and a brain. Do your part. And I'm here for, you know, for the other things that I don't need, you don't need me to work for. But we cannot keep blaming religion or poverty. We have to change. Also, we need to change our mindset.
All right, let me go
earlier, can I just add one? Earlier, you were saying something about the economy. Maybe that's why some people are stealing, judges are stealing. We cannot keep blaming the economy or poverty. We have to start blaming ourselves and taking responsibility.
All right, let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll bring in our guest. I'm sure he has a few things to add to this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. He's one of the founding partners of Fetchstone & Grace. He's the managing partner of the firm and currently leads its dispute resolution and banking and finance group. He's renowned for the depth of his knowledge in law and has, over the course of his career, distinguished himself in a string of notable cases. Welcome with us, Mr. Osaro Ehobami. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Before you came on, we were talking about Nigerians' religiosity, especially because when they travel abroad or go to different countries, it changes. You know, I mean, I told them that I'm a perfect example. I mean, when I was here, Bible was back to back. You know, fasting and prayer, gym. And suddenly, when there, first of all, there was no church in sight. My kind of church wasn't in sight. Outside looking for Nigerian churches, I didn't find that for a while back then. You know, and things, my prayer points changed. You know, it wasn't that Father Lord Almighty, give me this, give me that. It was more like, okay, I need direction. What should I do? So, what do you think? Are we overly religious here in Nigeria, or do you think it's the only way that we can actually sustain the hope that we desperately seek to have?
Well, I think I will. Thank you again for having me. And I would answer that question by introducing a practical example or joke that my father shared with me. My father is also a lawyer. Was a senior advocate. He's passed on now. Last year, as he would normally travel with all my nephews, my nieces, you know, he goes in a crowd when he's going abroad. And there were 9 of them traveling. And in Dubai, he suffered a heart attack. And within 7 minutes, paramedics and doctors were there, and they revived him. And, of course, illness took a different course later, but he went back to Dubai. When he woke up, my sister-in-law was telling me, because they revived him even before he got to the hospital. They started working on him, and they had an ambulance. And he looked around, and he saw Emiratis, and my father is very witty. He said to them, do you know my country? He's just woken up from a heart attack. And they said, yes. He said, my country is Nigeria. He said, God has left our country. Wow. Said, why? He said, because if I call no matter the hospital, nobody will come and revive me in 7 minutes. He said, God is here, not there.
Yes.
Now, that meant a lot. Wow. What it meant was that basically, it's very deep. Yes. That whilst here, we don't do the right thing. My father was very practical, very disciplined. And if we don't do the right thing, we call upon God. There's no way to work. You haven't created the room for God to intervene. So I think in Nigeria, we focus a lot on religion. So it's worship without sacrifice. That's what it is. And that's one of the greatest sins in the, as far as man is concerned.
I have to do a follow-up with this, but do you believe that ancestral demons, I mean, we all pray about it because they tell us, because somebody in the back somewhere did something that is affecting us today. We pray these things because we don't want our children to suffer from these things that we are suffering from. Are you saying that it is wrong for us to pray against ancestral demons?
We're misguided.
Simple.
And if you think about it, there are certain principles that are necessary for success. So my mother is very prayerful.
Okay.
My dad is very interesting. So we have a very interesting debates in the house. And if I'm traveling, there must be a prayer session. And my dad must intervene and say, you know, be careful because you miss your flight. When she starts, she doesn't stop. If I'm traveling from Cambridge, Kent to London, there's no prayer. I get on the tube and I get to where I'm going to. But if I'm traveling from Lagos to Benin, there's a lot of prayer. And that's because the ground is unsafe. So you can see why I was listening to your discussion earlier, why the prayers are more intense here, because we haven't done the right things. Yes. And we're praying, that prayer will not solve it because it's a matter of discipline, application, which we have not done, so we have insecurity.
You know, this reminds me of something that happened to me 2 years ago. I went to London to get a surgery. And the day before, I was a bit, you know, anxious about it. The doctor said to me, a Nigerian doctor who's lived there, he says, you're safer having this surgery than traveling from Lagos to Ibadan.
Right.
I'm like, whoa. So, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we're supposed to talk about leadership, but we just wanted to hear your initial thoughts on that. I mean, but...
Let me jump in by saying that, so we have a problem of leadership. And I always go back to the basics, that how can we sort out our leadership when we haven't sorted out ourselves? Because we give birth to the leaders of tomorrow. What are some of the things that we can start doing now as young people who are growing if we ever aspire to have a Nigeria that has good leadership?
Leadership is a complex subject, subtle, but leadership is everything. So where do you start from? I mean, the tenets that you require to be a good leader is often misunderstood. It is a matter of integrity, it's a matter of discipline, and it's a matter of how do you impact on third parties. It is not about you. You're a servant, and a servant, now they say servant leader in Nigeria. It is about how you can influence other people. So I talk about the leader without a title. In Nigeria, you don't have a leader without a title. You have leaders who are seeking title, and then wear a crown, and then they assume they are leaders. But a true leader is difficult to find. I have a few people who inspire me a lot. My father is one of them. I'll talk about a few before we end. And that's because he was extremely time conscious. He was extremely disciplined, and he spoke truth to power. I will share a few of it to you, and you'll understand. Once the governor of Lagos State, the governor of Edo State came in, and he just finished his election. And he walked into a church service. My father was, and you make a mistake when you call my father to come and speak, because he will speak truth to power. And Shimole came in late. He'd always complained to me that there cannot be any true leader who does not keep to time. Time is a language. So Oshimole saw him and hid behind anyway on purpose so that my dad would not embarrass him. And my dad did the right thing without saying a word. And then the organizer rushed to him. Why didn't you recognize? And he said he was here late. It's almost at the end of the occasion. I don't think we should disrupt it. And they insisted. And my father went to the podium and said, Oshimole is here. He's always late for occasions, and he's come late again. Welcome, Mr. Oshimole. Yes. I don't think Oshimole was very happy with that. But that's the kind of thing we're talking about. True leadership is different from being a politician. There's a big difference. We're looking for leadership in politicians. We're not looking for politicians to go into leadership positions. Right? So I think if we find anyone who is in politics, who is a true leader, we must do what we can do to support them, because politicians, leaders, do not look for popular votes. They look for vision. They look for purpose, whereas politicians are looking for votes. There's a big difference.
There's something I always disagree. If you look at the history of this country, well, there was a time when it was the popular opinion among the leaders to have vision. It was the people who, at the time, within regions,
almost a giving,
developed their regions with a vision that, okay, this is the strength of this area, this is the strength of the West, this is, and they existed. We can still see, we still do mark every Nationalist Day remembering these people. And at some point, I'm from Auchi, and funnily, when we have not put anything on the roads, just, we refuse to build the road, somebody then comes and says, see, they are waiting for you on that road. Whenever a person died those days in my place, they'll say they waited for him on the road. There's a way they mourn differently when the corpse of that person is brought home to be buried. And I know my parents used to just, echo it. And I feel like, for now, I've been driving myself for 7 years. I don't feel comfortable when I'm being driven. I believe that somebody can be careless. Well, if you see my car is being bashed by other drivers, I hardly drive into an accident. So if you do your path, your own part in every development, things will go naturally. If you have a clear vision, things will happen naturally. But we've made the excuse of religion for the lapses of a certain generation of leaders that came in. They sold religion as the excuse. They would go to the mosque, they would come and enlist the imam's help to win elections. And so they kept selling religion. How do we get our people to leave that fold and still believe in God? Because now if you tell them you don't want them to believe in God, so believe in God. But these are the things that are supposed to be a given. These are the things that these leaders should be telling you.
Like a mindset change.
A strong shift. Because I don't believe in village people. I love my village people. You can't be wrinkled because of me and be a witch. No. It's not possible. You wrinkled because of age. So how do we change that mindset to the kind of mindset where I am? That is not popular.
All right, let me go on a quick break, then I'll let you answer that. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So before the break, Nima asked a question, and I know you're ready. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I think Nima's question relates to how come we have changed our orientation, coming from the old, where we used to have people like Sir Ahmadu Bello. Those who lived with him would tell you the level of integrity that he had. And then when we move forward, you had Babangida, which I will talk about briefly, and then you now move here. You have our present president, and then you have the vice president. And you see general Nigerians. So when we talk about leadership, we focus on national leadership. But if you talk about orientation, leadership starts from the community, starts from the primary schools, it starts from the kindergartens. You must begin to teach people the concept of leadership. Now, did our forefathers do enough to teach us the concept of leadership? and then there was the military interagram. The point is this. If you don't start teaching a concept very early, so I talked about not having politicians who are leaders because they've not gone through any school. How are you going to get true leaders? Because it's a complex subject. So my father, I have a lot of respect for my father. So what I say of him indoors is what people say of him outside. So he's the one person who will tell a judge, I'm sorry you were late. Of course, combine it with age. But when he was much younger, when a judge was corrupt, who was then the brother of the sitting Oba of Benin, my father wrote a petition and followed it through. And Justice Akenzo was removed. My father always said that necessity is not the mother of invention. Necessity is failing to accept things the way they are. And many of us have failed, either as followers, we have not called our leaders to account. Now, we had a program last year. We were celebrating my dad, and we did something on leadership. Some of the qualities that my brothers and I really gained from my father. And one of the things we said, my father didn't leave a lot of things for us. He was fairly comfortable, but he left a lot of things in us that helps us to do what we're doing today. Babangida was celebrated last 3 months. It was 80, and it was a concept of leadership. And I accuse you, journalists, because no one took him to town. What do you stand for?
We did.
Yeah.
The celebration is good, but the celebration should do one of two things. Either it extols his strong leadership strengths, or exposes where he was weak and ask him what he will tell the future generation. If you did, we didn't see it on television. So that accountability is not there. So national orientation goes back to the very basics. When I was much younger, if I go to parties, you had those who were dancing. Then you had those who were good at logic and maths. They won prizes. Then you had those who could spell. So across the board, you were seeking leadership in different respects. Academia, dancing, entertainment. Today, it's only dancing and entertainment.
Yes.
When I tried to introduce it to my children when they were parties, you can just imagine the reaction I got from both the kids and their parents. But I insisted when my kids were much younger.
Yeah. Okay, so... See, I wrote on my paper one leader, because here at this table, when we discuss about leadership and the way forward, many of the ladies tend to say, we just need one person, you know, like a one savior to come and change the country. And I usually disagree with that. I feel that I feel that one person will be overwhelmed, because we have a system where you have to seek everyone's input before you can even go forward. So what do we do? I think what I'm trying to ask now is for children, where do we start with them? What are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things put in our curriculum or at play or at church that we start to teach them so that tomorrow we'll have many saviors that we can pull from?
So, you're taking me back to the issue of leadership at the national level, one leader. You're absolutely correct. You need a leader who will come with many other people who share the same values. But that one person must share a value. I mean, it must be somebody who provokes sufficient level of admiration and confidence amongst the people around him. And then others will then take a cue. And then they occupy sensitive positions. Nigeria, democracy doesn't necessarily produce the best leader. What democracy does is to produce a popular leader. So politicians will tell you a story. They make promises. But what leadership requires is not promises, but purpose. What is your purpose? I said to you that I was influenced by quite a number of people. And I will tell you, I've been influenced by my father greatly. As a young man, I'm influenced by Yemi Oshibajo. Now, I disclose as a friend, and I pray every day that one day he should rule this country. Now, that is because politicians are not going to vote for a man with a purpose. They are going to vote for someone who is popular. So those of us who believe in what we're doing and believe in values, and those values must disseminate in the whole country, we have to support someone like that. I also believe in law, Mr. Shofunde, who was my boss. Now, interestingly, we had Shofunde, Mr. Ogunigbe, Mr. Belgore, Mr. Sakwe, and then Fashola was also there. And you could see the sort of values that we're talking about. Interestingly, I'll just tell you a short story. When Fashola decided to run for governorship, he called me, and I said to him, either you've stolen enough money to go into politics or you're going there to steal. I tell truth to power. So those who tolerate me in power, you know they are good people. If they, most of them don't.
See, you keep referring to your dad because I remember that my father, when he was the president of the NBA, they had an event where they out of courtesy, invited the governor, the military governor. And he told them he didn't tell them to invite the governor of Lagos State. Yes. That was Rajat Razaki. And I told them they should return the invitation. In fact, he specifically told his assistant to go back and tell the governor that please collect our... You have been disinvited. We didn't invite you for this event. But we've seen people like that, activists like that. Where has it gotten us? There's a lot of screaming. I mean, as much as I love my father, I know what he stood for. And I like the fact that, yes, I have his name. But today, you're thinking to yourself, they're active, yes, but how activism back then had a lot of weight. But today, if you're active, you go and do protest. They go have a committee and everybody goes home. There is watered down. So where is the essence of active? Where do we get the leaders who can actually change, not just mindset, cause some kind of a revolution for change? We don't see that anymore.
Sorry, I took your first name.
My father's name was Akabashoro.
Ah, yes. Wow. It's a pleasure to be sitting next to you. He's a man we had a lot of respect for. And then he influenced many of us in different ways. Some people say that he's the one president of the bar that we had, and we're hoping that we'll see many more. So your question really is, how do we get to that point where we're able to disseminate the values that really are necessary for you to have a true leader? It takes everyone. Unfortunately, we don't celebrate the right things in Nigeria.
No, we don't.
So where people do things that are altruistic, and if you go elsewhere, people are celebrating those things, we don't. My father, again, always cracks a joke. He said, anywhere they're not sharing money, Nigerians are not excited. So if you come and discuss principles and policies and purpose, you will find out that, yes, it's quite boring. And those who will come, and they usually will come on time. So I always say to people in power, kindly look at your local association, your local community that helps the neighborhood watch. I live in a very interesting place where I'm a strong member of my neighborhood watch. And I go around knocking doors to tell people to come and help clean the gutters. When we moved into Lekki, there were no roads, so we built it ourselves. Now, if I knock on your door, some people don't even come out. They talk to you from upstairs. I'm going around with the gate men and the drivers and everybody. And, you know, I make a small party, and anyway, we're working for the community. And I see people who will not even open their gates, but almost insult you. And the next day, I hear the announcement on radio or television. This person is heading one commission. This person is a minister. I live in Lekki Phase 1. If you cannot give a hand in your little community, nobody should entrust you with government assets. So you must go straight to your neighborhood and find out the true character, and there you can find out. So I tell people in government who I know, work with your community. Those who are voluntarily committing their time to developing the community, they are the people you need to work with. And those are the people who need to sift the values. And then the churches are not doing enough. The mosque is not doing enough.
We have... You wanted to... Okay. So I feel like we're in a quagmire right now because the politicians we have are not leaders. And 2023 is around the corner. I'm afraid because most of the people that these politicians rely on are the people who are not elites. The what do you call them on the streets? The grassroots, I don't want to use the word hoodlums, but they are the young men out there who are not educated, who actually come out en masse to cast their votes. The elites are a bit afraid. We don't want shooting and all that. How do we begin to get them to understand the sort of leadership that will take Nigeria forward, and not just voting because you have been giving some guns, you've been giving money, you've been giving noodles and all that? How do we reach those people? Because they are the main people who would push these ones forward.
very interesting question, and I would disclose all my interests.
I'm sure you didn't vote either at the last elections.
Oh, I did.
Oh, okay.
I was just going to ask you if you had your PVC.
Oh, we don't.
I was coming to that. I did.
I do.
And I went beyond just voting. Okay. So the way I campaign is I go from door to door in my little community.
Okay, let me let you answer that question.
If I provoke some...
Yes,
And in my office, I took a poll in my office. Wow. I don't know if some of my colleagues are watching. And I asked them, there's it's a law office. So there's an exciting debate. Sometimes it gets very severe and intense. And I said, everybody stop. This was the last election. Those who were voting for Jonathan, good luck. Those who are voting, and it became so polarized, of course, along racial lines, along tribal lines. Yeah. And I said, everybody stop. How many of you have a PVC?
I know.
We're about 23 of us, only 5. How many of you are going to vote? Only 3.
Yeah.
Of that 3, only 2 were voting for the present government. What did that tell you? The point you just raised.
Yes.
First, it depends on all of us. We first have to get our votes. Then secondly, those of us who are educated and those of us who are sufficiently exposed and hopefully have some level of integrity should educate those who do not know. Truth of the matter is democracy is difficult in Nigeria. Because I've gone on the streets.
Expensive.
Very expensive. And that is because most of those who vote do not have the material to evaluate who they should be voting for.
I have to pause you for a second because I have made this argument. Maybe I've not articulated it properly. But I somehow feel that democracy is not our own solution to the problem. Do you think we as Africans are prepared,
or Nigerians,
let me say, for democracy, or do we revert to some kind of different system of government at least for some period?
So, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. Yes. What have you done in the last elections beyond voting?
What we do every day.
Every day we educate.
So we need to start holding ourselves accountable. When I am, well, not when I'm available. I never travel abroad during elections. Not only do I vote, I persuade a lot of people to vote. And I stay with the vote and I see it counted. If votes don't count, politicians will not buy them. So they do count. And so democracy can work if those of us who are sufficiently exposed play our parts. I don't think any of you have ever influenced anybody.
Which way I'm going, I do that.
So he does that. Great. So we have something in common.
I wait for it. I take my time. But there's the point where you've reached now, buying of the votes.
Yes.
Funnily, it's not the hoodlums who sell votes. And most of the hoodlums you think are not educated are very much educated beyond senior secondary school. But you see people, when it comes to elections, the discussions just water down to what he do for me.
Correct.
What if he do for me?
Personal interest.
Shebi is the one, the other time, he helped one person, I know, he sent him to school. How do we convince people that, beyond all of this, there's this common development that if you have it, it doesn't have to do for you. All of us will just, and then we can then question the right way. It's not one person doing. How do we convince them that at that moment, the pedigree of the person, even the pedigree of the ancestors, beyond the fathers, matter extremely beyond what they can do?
So let me break that down. Politicians are interested in the next election. Leaders are interested in the next generation. Therefore, this question you ask goes back to all of us. The truth of the matter is that the true leader is not a politician. And if you want integrity from him, he's not going to buy or sell votes. How do you get that man to be a leader and to be leading in a political setting if he's not going to compromise his integrity? He has to depend on people like you and us who know the right thing, and then we go and campaign. And we are competing with those who are giving money. I'll give you a typical example of what happened in Lekki. We were voting in Lagos. Fashola was not known.
Yes, it wasn't.
He wasn't known. And he asked me 3 questions when I tried to dissuade him from voting. He said, "Sir, who is your local government chairman?" I said, "I don't know." "Who is sitting in the Senate?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "What of the House of Reps?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "You are more of the joker than I am.
Whoa.
You don't even know the people who are representing you, and you're asking me not to partake." So I went out to talk to my neighbors, as I would normally do. Then I went out to talk to the Okada people. But because I'm very influential in that community, the Okada people said to me, "Oh, I should get some money." I said, "Me give you money to vote?" Never. The next day, I do a lot of running. I'm going to talk about my marathon before we finish. Okay. And the next day, I'm running, and they call me, say, Oga, please, forget what we said yesterday. Who you want make we vote for? Most of them don't have any interest. Who you want make we vote for? I say, okay, I will tell you, this is who you should vote for. And on the day of the election, I saw a lot of, mishaps and a lot of, and I went around and said, Oga, go house. We they pretend. People give us money, we they pretend, say the money they shack us. You go win the election, all of us are voting for you. And that's exactly what happened. Oh. Now, there are many more people who will commit their time like that. You probably would not. And those people who are committing their time, I could have told them to vote for whoever I wanted. So it really rests on us, the so-called middle class analysts. We have failed. So when we have one of us who says, I'm interested in politics, he's support the person.
There's also the important part of the conversations that this elite, this middle class have amongst themselves, because they're the ones who start the narratives that we're talking about earlier. So I'm talking to the less educated person, and the person is listening and thinking, okay, she knows better, I think I trust her. But when I'm talking to the people, I'm saying, don't tell me anything. Do you know I've been to London? I've been to America. I've been to and they are going on and on.
Let me just intervene.
They're the ones causing the problem.
But I had won the confidence of my people. I use that word in politics because I joined them with the gutters. I helped them to get their licenses. So I didn't go to them a month or 2 months, 3 months before election and no, they will not believe you. They trusted me. My younger brother is in Benin, he does the same. They trust him because we're working with you all throughout the year. I'm a member of the community. So you know me.
Let me jump in.
Yes. So talking about the middle class and the elite and e-registration for our PVCs going forward. Recently INEC released the numbers of young first-time registrants. There were such a huge number in such a small time, and we hear the conversations they have in places like America, where they're saying there's voter apathy, but when you have people involved electronically, you have that group of people participating more in politics because they can do it now from the convenience of their homes. Do you think that will make a difference in Nigeria?
Certainly. Certainly, because many more people who are informed and misinformed will vote. So it will make a difference. Is it a positive difference? Generally, I would think so, but we shouldn't think there's a panacea to the entire problem. The reason is this. There's so much falsehood on social media. And I'm one of the few who say, look, try and restrict it. Because you see, how do you tell what is the truth? Especially when you're not on ground. I have seen things happening. I travel by road a lot. I don't travel by any escorts. I travel with my driver undercover. So I travel from Benin to Lagos. I travel from Benin to Abuja. I travel from Abuja to Kaduna. Wow. My poor mother is praying and crying.
Like to sit down then?
Because I don't use any escorts. And that's deliberate because I want to see what's happening on the streets. Now, going back to your question. So you have people who are sitting in America, don't really understand what is going on here. They only understand it from social media. Sometimes they call you and tell you, there's a bomb at the airport. I said, no, I'm sitting at the airport right now. There's no bomb.
Click the share button.
So I think it's with that misinformation, if we don't manage it, then you have people voting.
I have a few seconds. Let me let you talk about your marathon.
Oh, great.
You're running.
I run the marathon because I'm interested in the administration of justice, which is what obviously endears me to the vice president. I am running 42 kilometers.
Wow.
And I do that as a sacrifice to say that we must do something with the administration of justice. Look, we've all failed if you're lawyers. If it takes 3 years to resolve any disputes, it's a problem. But I think one of the greatest problems the non-lawyers would like me to speak about is that we as lawyers see rules very narrowly, see law very narrowly, as only the rules to resolve disputes. Law must be seen as a set of values upon which society is predicated. So if you have a lawyer, who propagates a bit of integrity, it's a big problem because we should be the custodians of integrity.
Allow me to clarify.
So this for lawyers?
No, not for lawyers. It's for everyone. I'm just saying that we're failed. That's why I'm running.
Okay. All right, fantastic. Congratulations. And well done to that, and we'll look out for it very soon.
Are you going to run?
When?
Well, we were supposed to run the 2nd of October. Fortunately, the organizers put it for, in which I was running. Fortunately, a few people are going to join me, the vice president, everyone is joining me, but unfortunately not.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you, sir. That's all we can take. We'll be speaking with one of the partners of Flexstone and Grace, Mr. Osaro a homonym. Thank you very much, sir. SAN. That was very important. SAN. The title. Imagine that.
The leader without a title.
Yeah,
So it doesn't matter.
All right, see you tomorrow. Bye
Thank
for now.
you. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.